Hi, this is Kathy Herman. So today is October the 12th, and it's 1:19 Eastern Time in the United States. And this is the third consecutive day of Blackberry outages. The outages started on October the 10th, first reported by Vodafone Customer Services at 10 a.m. UK time. And it spread across the UK and select countries in Europe and Africa and Southern Asia, and then continued to be in effect through the 11th, and now as of today, the 12th, it has spread to North America and South America. There are a variety of analysts that have been talking about the crisis from the operational standpoint. But what I'd like to do today is to talk about the crisis from the perspective of social business. Because what's happening is right in tandem with some ongoing discussions that Dr. Natalie and I have been having in our Simplifying Social Business series on Focus.com. So let me start the discussion by first reminding people about what it means to be a social business. And to do that, I've spared no expense in a very high-end visual aid. But to be a social business means that you are engaging, collaborating, and creating with your customers, partners, and employees and other interested parties in authentic, genuine, and transparent ways. And the reason why RIM is so relevant is because they are a colossal social business fail, whether you want to measure it in terms of customers, partners, or employees. So what's happened here is, let's look at it first from a customer perspective. So the outage happens, and hours went by before RIM even publicly commented on the outage. In fact, it was their partner Vodafone who spoke up first to their own customer base. So from my reckoning, it was almost 14 hours before 14 or 15 hours before RIM publicly acknowledged that there was an outage. But in the meantime, customers had taken to social channels like Twitter in droves to voice their questions and their dissatisfaction. And throughout all of that, customers were ignored. So that makes what happens with RIM a colossal social business fail in terms of customers. Now let's look at it from a partner perspective. Apparently, from what I saw in some of the news reports, RIM did acknowledge to its own partner Vodafone that there was an outage, but Vodafone itself had no additional information. So my readout of that is that while RIM acknowledged it, they provided no information to their own partner. So what they did is they basically left their own partner hanging with its customer base about an important issue. So again, there's a huge fail. Now let's keep in mind who Blackberry's market is. It's the corporate market. That's the niche that they've carved out for themselves. So you're talking about a class of people that consider their smartphone to be a mission-critical device for them. And so here is a customer base and the partners that support them, the carriers, who are lacking information about something that's really relevant to their business operations. They're lacking information about the nature of the problem, how long it can last, so they don't have a good set of information about what they can do on their own end to weather the crisis. So again, huge, huge fail. So now let's look at this from an employee perspective. It appears that UK operations neglected to notify corporate customer service in Canada that there was a major outage. We can only surmise this because when the corporate folks came online on the 10th, Monday morning, at Blackberry Help sent out a Twitter message that said, "Hey, Pound Team Blackberry, happy Monday, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend. We are back to answer your questions. Stay tuned for answers." Well, while that was a very cheery message, it really wasn't an appropriate message given the crisis that was going on. Further, when we talk about needing to be genuine and authentic, that was a message that wasn't. And we know this because despite saying, "We're here to answer your questions," apparently they weren't. If those questions were along the pesky variety of tell us about what's going on with this outage, because RIM stayed quite silent until late in the day, when they finally acknowledged that there actually was a problem. On the other hand, if you want to know about how to change wallpaper, Blackberry Help was there to just jump right in. So again, there is a fail in there. In this particular case, the fact that the UK neglected to prepare their own customer service for a potential problem is an issue. So any way you want to look at it, customers, partners, employees, RIM has had a huge faux pas and fumble in how they've managed their communication around an operational crisis. Now here's the thing. We know from history that companies can weather some kind of operational crisis and come through the other side with their customer base intact in terms of their loyalty and their trust. If you want two examples of that, just look at Johnson & Johnson with the Tylenol scare and Pepsi with the needle scare. Because both of those companies weathered a crisis that was actually far more severe because of the public health aspect of it than what RIM is experiencing right now. But both J&J and Pepsi did something very important. They teamed up great communications to back up what was going on operationally. So even though this was before the days of social business, what they were showing is that both J&J and Pepsi are approaching how they interact with their customer base from a social business way. Because what both companies did was they took to the airwaves to engage and talk with their customers and tell them quite openly what had happened, what was the nature of the problem, how it started, what they knew about it, how they were going to fix it. And then in later communiques, they came back and talked about what they would do to make sure that the problem didn't happen again in the future. So, problems are going to happen in business because that's life. And it happens to individuals, it happens to corporations. Problems are going to happen. What will make the difference in your ability to maintain your customer base is going to be how you handle the problem. You may be a company that's really digging in and working hard to fix that operational issue. But if you're not thinking in terms of communicating to your customers, there is going to be the perception that you don't care. And that's what's happened with RIM. They may have been pulling out all the stops to fix their problem, but the perception of their customers and people like me is that they don't care. And that's a huge problem. RIM is in a situation where they've already dropped from the first place in the smartphone field to third place. This is the kind of situation, operational crisis teamed with poor communications, that can make them an also-ran company. That's lessons learned from RIM. Thank you so much, and that's it for today.